Hey mamas, I've been feeling really called lately to do a series of short videos on topics related to the art of logic and having civil discourse. Obviously, this is a major issue in our society. It's only been a few days since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and he was known for just openly holding debates. Some people interpreted them as being negative in some way, and many of us who really appreciated him just loved that he was so oriented towards the truth and that he did care about people enough to speak what he believed was true to them, and we really admire that. But if you have been through a lot of hard traumatic things, your subconscious mind has created any number of stories to try to keep you safe, to help you navigate this world. And those stories may be not true at all. And that's a scary thing because we all need a sense of safety and security. So we trust what our brain is telling us. We trust our feelings, especially if they're very strong. And we assume, like, well, I feel very strongly and convicted about this, so it must be true as such. And that is all very natural. And I think the vast majority of people on this planet are operating in that kind of unaware space where truth is whatever feels true, right? And they're not really fully aware of how their traumas are affecting the way they interpret things, that they are being very emotionally reactive, that they maybe don't actually really have the tools that they need to discern things well, and certainly not to communicate well in a high emotion type situation. This, again, this is all human nature. If you go through hard things, it makes sense that you develop these ways of being and that you're not really conscious of them. But what I think is very important for us as moms who are awakening to the cycles and patterns that we have because of whatever unhealed traumas and such that we experienced previously, like, we are having to chart a new path, and we are having to enter into the ability to be humble and to put the pursuit of truth at the center of our lives, even truth about ourselves. And we have to create a safety for ourselves in this journey of knowing, like, I'm not an inherently horrible human being because I've done X, Y, and Z different patterns over the course of my life, and it's hurt people and it's pushed people away and it's gotten me into X, Y, and Z situations that were really unfortunate. you know, we are being honest with ourselves. We are loving ourselves, and we are starting also to orient towards being honest about everything else around us and not being overly identified with certain things, because then it makes us afraid to release control over what we believe about those things and not open to hearing other people's perspectives, experiences, and being fair and discerning what is fully true about something. So I want to journey with you. I'm also still on this journey, particularly in how to engage with people in civil dialogue, because it was not modeled for me at all. The violence we see in our world in terms of language and even physically, I mean, that kind of stuff was modeled for me when I was very young, in terms of if something triggers you or you don't agree with something and it threatens your identity, it makes you feel shame. This is the way that you react so that you can silence it and you won't feel bad. And that is not what makes a democratic republic thrive and survive, right? Our founding fathers expected that these kind of skills would be passed along to all the generations that would follow them in order to actually make this democratic republic experiment survive and be a success. And I think it can be. And it's important that we as moms do the hard work and we learn these skills and we can model them for our children so that they can be beacons of light and they can be humble and they can be great communicators. I think, unfortunately, with Charlie Kirk, the nature of setting up a booth and saying, prove me wrong, and debating, it kind of attracted people who were eager to project the worst motives onto him, people who maybe just have not been taught logic and are not as oriented towards the truth as they think they are, and so they are eager to take offense, and it just created a very like combustible sort of environment. And I think what he was doing was following his passion, and he did it really well. I admire him, and I'm really heartbroken that his life was taken the way it was. But I think he left a good example, and then also we can build on moving forward, especially in these videos I'll be putting out, like how can we help to soothe other people's defenses and help them to have safety and connection before we dive into all the nitty-gritties about logic and discerning truth about things. There's some quotes I found that I want to share because I think they're dead on. Joe Kloss, he wrote a book called 12 Steps to Happiness, and he said, "The truth will set you free, but first, it will piss you off." And I have seen that happen over and over, not only in my own life, but in my efforts to communicate some truth with other people. So, something to keep in mind. And then Winston Churchill said, "Men occasionally stumble over the truth, but most of them pick themselves up and hurry off as if nothing happened." Also agree with that one, yes. And then Flannery O'Connor, she is a fiction writer. She's not alive anymore, but she said, "The truth does not change according to our ability to stomach it." So I think like the most important thing I want to impart just starting out on this video series is that in order for you and me as moms who are forming the next generation to be able to blaze this new trail of actual civil discourse, being oriented towards truth, being able to connect with other people in a goodwill way so that other people can hear what we want to share with them in regards to truth, and we can hear truth when it's presented to us as well. I think it's important to create safety within ourselves and our nervous systems to know that I am safe. I am not a horrible human being because I'm not perfect at this. Whatever other people might want to project onto me or think about me is not necessarily true. Many of us were raised to be codependent, so we're afraid to say things or ask questions towards the truth because we are afraid of at least violent words or maybe abandonment and rejection in some capacity, cancel culture kind of stuff. So I like to, of course, you can pray. I don't always feel like I get the immediate help and answer that I want from prayer, so I do pray. But also something that is helpful to me is dropping into myself and just imagining getting somewhere quiet, take a few deep breaths, and then just imagining the highest version of myself, the truest, freest version of myself who fears nothing, because there's nothing to fear from the truth, right? What we fear generally is kind of how other people respond to us, or what the truth might ask of us, right? So if you can imagine, what does she look like? How does she carry herself? What does her nervous system feel like? And try to step into that. She's at peace. She's not afraid of what other people are going to think about her. She is able to hear all the different perspectives and weigh all of the different information and know that, with the help of her skills and logic, she can determine the truth and she will act accordingly. And that will be what is best, and that will be what is right. So that would just be a little exercise I would throw out there for you if you are ready to start this journey of learning how to think well, how to have civil discourse, and help to sort of soothe your own fears and your own nervous system around being able to engage with others. Because having humility when you want to have defensiveness is really hard and new for many of us. And it's going to be a bumpy ride, but it is absolutely worth it. And you are going to put your children at such a greater advantage in everything they do by being able to model this for them. Let me know in the comments if you agree with what I've said or if you have anything you want to add to it or any questions. Thanks for watching.